Today we're going to be taking a look at approval chains. Right now what we have is an example folder called Bronx Zoo, and when we take the action feed the ducks, we're given the option to define a number of pounds of feed that we want to feed, select the ducks we want to feed, and then once we do that, we have the option to either approve or reject the feeding. With 28 pounds of feed left over, we may want to reject this, and once we do that, our process folder, which was created in the background, is updated with the status of rejected. We can report on these processes later and also do some more fine-grained record keeping with this data if we wanted to. But let's say that we wanted to have this process, this duck feeding process, approved by multiple people before it actually got to the final approved or rejected state. And for that we would use approval chains. Approval chains can be created by going to System, Flow Management, Approval Chains, and selecting Create Approval Chain. And for this example, we will say Feed the Ducks chain. And the next thing that we'll do is we'll define the levels of this chain. To begin with, we're going to ignore these options right here in the advanced properties, but just as a brief reviewer, you can select all the different options such as how many approvers to require, the time to approve, conditions, settings, things like that, including delegations and escalation levels. So the first thing to describe right here is the all and any checkbox. Let's say I wanted to require that more than one person approve. For example, I wanted to add, I wanted designer 1 to approve it, and I also wanted designer 2 to approve it. This would require that both of these users approve it before it goes to the next level. If either one of them rejected it, the process would be done. If I wanted just one of them to approve it, I would select any. So then if user or designer 1 approves it, it will go to the next level. If designer 1 rejects it, it would go nowhere. It would go to rejected. Same applies for designer 2, in which case it would be sort of a race. Whoever approves it first, it would just go to the next level. If either one rejected it, it would be rejected out wholesale. This gets a little more complicated when we're working with groups. The all designation doesn't apply internally to groups. So what that means is that if I add designers and I add manager 1, what this means is that this doesn't mean that all members of the designers group and manager 1 must approve it before it can go to the next level. What it means is that at least one person from the designers group and at least manager 1 both must approve it. To make every member of a group approve a process before it goes through, I would have to add all of those members individually as users and as approvers. So if I were to say any on this, anyone from the designers group or manager 1 could approve it to make it go to the next level. For the next level, I will say that a member of the actually, let me say the administrators group. And there we go. So what's going to happen is any member of the designers group, of which I'm currently a member, can approve it, or the manager 1 user can approve it. And I will show you how that works in just a minute. And then obviously anyone from the administrators group. So there's my duck chain. And to put this into effect, I'm going to temporarily remove the approval form that we designed just because we'll get into more fine-grained customization of the main approval flow in a later lesson. But to replace this, what we're going to do is we're going to delete that component, which is our form and our assignment, and we are going to load the approval chain and then use the approval chain in the approval flow. Now the approval flow, the main approval flow, is a flow that we will use to copy, or that we will copy and then use to handle all manner of custom approvals. So we may want certain actions to happen when when a step is approved, we may want to alter the process data. We may want to send an email off and do those sorts of things. And we could do those in the main approval flow, but a better practice is to copy the approval flow and then make our customizations there. Now you see that I just added in main approval flow. I don't actually want to run this yet. What I want to do is I want to load the approval chain so that I can use it here. Otherwise, my only option is to build it right here in the flow. We don't need to do that because we have the load approval chain component, so I will delete that and I will load the approval chain. To pick the approval chain, I will select that, and of course if I had multiple approval chains I would select whichever one I wanted to use. It'll output the ID of the approval chain in case I wanted to make some sort of customizations, which I certainly could. If I knew that I wanted to modify the approvers at this point based on some data, I could go ahead and do that using the entity ID, but right now we're just going to leave it as is and make sure we get that chain out. Alright, so we'll direct load approval chain to the main approval flow, and we will select our approval chain. We will set an approval deadline of, let's say, 5 minutes from now. And approval form title will be Feed the Ducks. We're going to assume that on expiration, past this deadline, we want the request to automatically reject. We can get into more discussion of that a little bit later. The request details, here we will put in the details of our request, including number of ducks. Let's say pounds of feed. And leftover feed. Quick summary or subject. Okay, we'll want to make this plain text, otherwise a whole bunch of HTML shows up. So let's just say feed the ducks with pounds of feed left over. And we have no supporting documents, so that's good. Let's set that state to approved, and let's set it to reject. So once everything's been resolved inside the approval flow, it'll set our process to a state of rejected or approved. Okay. So now let's feed the ducks. And just for convenience sake, I'm going to have open the approval chain so that we can see who needs to approve it. Let's go here. You can see it needs to begin by anyone approving from the designers group or manager 1. I believe that I am in the designers group as the admin, so let me say 45 pounds of feed to these 3 ducks. Yep, it's been assigned to me because I am a member of the designers group. And I do want to fill it in now. And pounds of feed, leftover pounds of feed. Oh, it looks like I mapped some of those in wrong, but that's fine. Let's see. From here it will go to administrators, so yes, I will approve it. And nope, I will reject it. And you'll see in just a second, this duck feeding was rejected. And that's how to begin using approval chains.